During our junior year, I encountered Cindy, who was pursuing degrees in both education and business administration, while I aimed to become the first college graduate in my family with an engineering degree. Similar to her parents, educators, she valued continuous learning. This shared philosophy mirrored the emphasis on education and self-reliance that my farm-running parents instilled in me. To finance my studies, I worked at a local tutoring center, minimizing student loan dependency. Halfway through the academic term, our professor allocated us into project groups. Initially apprehensive, my attitude transformed when Cindy joined my group. For our political science class, we were tasked with analyzing a renowned Supreme Court case as assigned by the professor. In this group, I discovered a partner who would challenge and inspire me throughout our shared academic journey. Discussing a significant case, Marbury v. Madison, the pioneering Supreme Court decision that marked its power dynamics, we deliberated over its merits. Its ruling curtailed the court's influence to maintain balance with other government branches, thereby shaping the modern Supreme Court. As our discussions deepened, a bond developed between us, leading to a romantic relationship. Prior to this, my dating experiences were limited due to financial constraints, but Cindy was understanding. She appreciated simple activities such as watching TV together or taking leisurely walks. Picnics and museum visits became our extravagant dates. I found myself deeply smitten by Cindy, who appeared equally enamored. We married immediately after graduation. For the initial 5 years of our marriage, life was predominantly blissful. Our intimate relations were fulfilling, and our newly acquired home suited us perfectly. Due to our move to a new community, we rapidly established many friends and led an active social life. Cindy commenced employment as an 8th grade teacher at a school in northern Palm Beach County, while I found work with a major engineering firm in South Florida. Over the course of time, I discovered that I wasn't fond of my engineering role. As a junior engineer, I was often saddled with tedious responsibilities. In an attempt to break the workplace monotony, I decided to pursue a master's degree, anticipating it would bring a raise and more intriguing tasks. However, all I received was a $500 bonus. Disheartened, I thought, never mind, and resolved to aim for a PhD. Although my job lacked excitement, life in general was satisfactory. Cindy's career thrived, and we were deeply in love. Financially, we were content, discussing the prospect of starting a family. However, as the saying goes, everything that rises must fall. The initial setback occurred when my supervisor informed me about my shift from design work to inspections. Design tasks were more tiresome than the inspections I had been handling. The second favorable information, initially perceived as such, was that Cindy secured a promotion to lead the guidance department at West Jupiter High School. This advancement would eventually prove detrimental. The third major predicament in my life emerged when Brock Turner took up the principal position at Cindy's school. A former NFL player, he had played for 5 seasons across 3 distinct teams. Drafted by Dallas in the 3rd round as an inside linebacker, Brock was traded after 2 seasons despite his good performance. He spent subsequent years in Seattle before being moved to Philadelphia, where he delivered a robust season but ended his career prematurely due to a severe ankle injury during a playoff match. Post-retirement, Brock endeavored in television due to his inherent charm, yet failed to make a mark in that field. Initially, his screen presence appeared overbearing, resulting in his termination. Subsequently, he took a job at a local bank in customer service, departing after 9 months due to disdain for office work. Later, Brock transitioned into a role as a gym teacher and football coach at a Philadelphia suburban high school. Over the course of 3 years, he rose through the ranks to become an assistant principal and head football coach. The team boasted a winning record, yet fell short in postseason competitions. Upon the retirement of a principal at Cindy's school, Brock applied and secured the position. For a year, conversations about him overshadowed those about Cindy. I was initially impressed due to his NFL background, but my viewpoint shifted upon meeting him. I perceived him as self-centered and arrogant. Contrastingly, his wife, April, was endearing, intelligent, and slightly timid. She was also strikingly attractive, reminiscent of a smaller, more beautiful version of Whitney Houston. I found it puzzling why she was with Brock, but the majority of school staff, including Cindy, were captivated by him. I subtly suggested to Cindy that her boss was a womanizer, but she merely chuckled and claimed I was envious. Opting for honesty, I confessed my slight envy. Yes, I acknowledged being slightly envious. He towers over me, is more physically fit, and was once a professional football player. Cindy embraced me, responding, "You don't have to be jealous." She added, "He's only a few inches taller than you, and you're in good shape yourself. So what if he played football? I chose you." Her comforting words eased my concerns, although I remained uncomfortable around Brock. Cindy frequently invited me to all school functions where we consistently sat with Brock and his wife, April. At these gatherings, I occasionally conversed with April and discovered they had been married for 3 years with a daughter named Tiffany. At the school district's Christmas party one evening, I witnessed the true extent of Brock's rudeness. If Cindy thought I was envious, it paled in comparison to how April was treated by Brock at the gathering. Without consulting me initially, Brock invited Cindy to dance, behavior I found disrespectful. I was irritated that Cindy didn't seem to care about my feelings in the matter. I observed their dancing from a distance and eventually joined April for a chat. It turned out she was a part-time instructor at a local community college that had recently transformed into a 4-year institution. She specialized in French and German, and her family origins were diverse. Her mother's relatives hailed from the Congo, while her father was of German descent. Prior to her birth, they had relocated to the United States. Given the recent change in status, the college was still recruiting faculty members. April aspired for her part-time position to progress into a full-time role as an associate professor. As we chatted, she shared photos of their daughter, who bore a striking resemblance to a younger version of herself. I chuckled as April reminisced about Tiffany's amusing antics. After the third song concluded, Brock and Cindy returned to their table. Brock appeared aggravated upon observing me conversing with his spouse. "You're occupying my seat," he snapped at me. Startled by his tone, I apologized and relocated. I subsequently offered to fetch drinks for all of us. April requested another glass of Chardonnay, while Cindy desired a Coke. Upon my return trip, Brock seized my arm, swiped the wine glass from my hand, and warned, "Keep your distance from my wife, or I'll beat you up." "Why are you so upset with me?" I queried, stunned by his aggressiveness. "Simply stay away from my wife," he replied dismissively as he withdrew. Not long afterward, Brock declared that he and April were departing. His unexpected exit was disconcerting, and Cindy's angry gaze was equally alarming. On our journey homeward, Cindy accused me. "What did you do to infuriate Brock?" I countered defensively. "You must have done something because he was furious with you," she persisted. "He threatened physical violence if I didn't stay clear of his wife. You implied I was disregarded while you danced without seeking my consent, which I found upsetting. You wanted clarification, but I dismissed it, choosing not to talk about Brock anymore. After the Christmas party, my feelings towards Brock evolved from unease to disdain. Yet, I avoided creating issues since he was your superior. Fortunately, Brock wasn't frequently mentioned by you after that Christmas gathering. A few months into the new year, the economy experienced a significant decline, affecting real estate markets adversely. Initially, my company remained unaffected due to our scheduled projects. However, as time passed and no new ventures emerged, tension heightened. I maintained my focus on work, but I was aware that if the economy didn't recover, potential layoffs were a possibility. One day, you returned home enthusiastic because you had been selected to organize a career event at your school. I failed to grasp her level of excitement, believing that students would merely appreciate a brief respite from class. Regardless, I shared her enthusiasm. Had I known she was thrilled because Brock had chosen her for the task, my eagerness might have wavered. However, I discovered later that I was pleased with my decision. She'd already organized an accountant, lawyer, nurse, computer programmer, and several other professionals to speak. Cindy inquired if I could procure an engineer from my company for a brief discussion. I requested permission from my superior the following day, which he granted, on condition that I used a personal day. Since it was for Cindy, I consented. The career event was scheduled to last 2 hours, with 12 professionals each speaking for 10 minutes. On career day, 4 of the speakers either canceled or failed to appear. Cindy grew frantic and on the verge of tears. I reassured her and took responsibility for the absent accountant, lawyer, mechanic, and doctor. When it was time to address Cindy, I gave her a kiss and calmed her fears. Ascending the stairs towards the stage, I observed a group of disengaged high school students. They hadn't departed because they were still required to return to class. While my presentation materials were being arranged, I initiated my speech. Good afternoon, everyone. If you're dozing off, please indicate by raising your hands. Predictably, most hands rose, and the students chuckled. Now captivated, I continued. I trust you find my discourse engaging. If not, at least it will extend your break from class. The students applauded. Taking a moment to compose myself, I proceeded. Though an engineer by profession, today I'll discuss various occupations. Furthermore, I will provide valuable guidance on thriving in any endeavor, including navigating high school with reduced stress. Many students chuckled yet sat more attentively. I was delving deep into my topic. I commenced with a witty engineer joke, but let me clarify, they're not just a group of nerds as some may think. Allow me to narrate a tale that illustrates their pragmatic nature. One day, an engineering student was riding a brand new bicycle across campus when he encountered another engineer who exclaimed, "What a fantastic bike!" or "Where did you get it?" The first student responded, "You won't believe the circumstances." A girl had written him a note, stripped off her clothes, and offered him anything he desired. The second engineer replied approvingly, "That's amazing. It's likely those clothes wouldn't have fit you anyway." Finally, I emphasized, and that, my friends, is the essence of an engineer pragmatic to the core. This comment elicited a hearty laugh from the audience. Subsequently, I transitioned to a slideshow displaying various buildings and structures, one of which depicted a carpet museum with a roof resembling a rolled-up carpet. Another slide displayed a lopsided house appearing to tilt in various directions, followed by an oversized structure mimicking a picnic basket. The presentation concluded with a straightforward 9-story edifice, prompting queries about its unique features. Upon numerous conjectures I unveiled, you'd never guess it. This towering building is Europe's largest brothel, standing 9 stories high and situated in Germany for those intrigued. The boys exhibited enthusiasm, while the girls displayed a range of reactions. Subsequently, the discussion transitioned to various careers, examining average earnings and the educational prerequisites for each occupation. Jokes were interspersed, along with advice on studying and test-taking strategies. I emphasized my conviction that to excel in any endeavor, one must constantly strive to surpass one's personal best. It may appear contradictory, I clarified, yet neglecting self-improvement means foregoing progress. I further highlighted that there's no shame in asking questions and seeking help, unlike those who refuse assistance. Additionally, I discussed individuals who opt for trade jobs over college education. I urged those considering this route to understand its potential financial benefits compared to many college graduates. As the conversation continued, I was unaware of the passing time until Cindy indicated that I should conclude. Recognizing her, I wrapped up my talk with a final tip. Facing public speaking is one of the greatest fears people encounter, sometimes even surpassing the fear of death. It's an experience most of you will eventually face. Afterwards, recall to maintain an upright posture for visibility, articulate clearly for audibility, then concisely deliver your words before sitting promptly to earn their admiration. Thank you. Your performance has been exceptional. I received a standing ovation, a kiss from Cindy, and a handshake from Brock. But that wasn't everything. Unbeknownst to me, 3 other high school principals were present and requested my presence at their institutions. I explained I had used a personal day for the talk with Cindy, but eventually Cindy persuaded me to address the other schools. All 3 talks went exceptionally well. At the final one, in a disadvantaged neighborhood, the principal lamented that I could be one of their teachers. I felt on top of the world, but things deteriorated soon. On a typical Monday, I was summoned to my supervisor's office and informed that I was being terminated. The severance package was fair. It consisted of 3 months' salary and health insurance coverage. Upon arriving home, I shared the news of my layoff with Cindy, and her immediate response was concern over our mortgage payments. I responded to her with gratitude, then fetched a beer from the fridge and headed to our office. With the computer switched on, I embarked on job hunting. A short while later, Cindy appeared softly, expressing regret for her anxiety about losing our home. I consoled her with a kiss and embrace, assuring her that my employer had provided 3 months severance pay, suggesting I would secure new employment before then. However, as the severance money dwindled without a job in sight, Cindy's stress about finding work escalated daily. Our home atmosphere grew tense as I continued to endure one rejection after another, feeling more like a disappointment with each passing day. The situation worsened when Alan Latter, the vice principal at West Jupiter High School, decided to take a position in California. Brock hastily advanced Cindy to fill his position, leading me to listen repeatedly about everyone's admiration for Mr. Turner, his high regard among teachers, and his contention for the deputy superintendent role. My animosity towards Brock Turner escalated. During a fourth consecutive month of unemployment, I felt that Cindy was losing respect for me. Then, an unanticipated opportunity arose on the evening news, featuring a new program aimed at drawing teachers to schools in economically disadvantaged areas. This program valued life experience over a teaching certificate, but if selected, a certificate would be necessary within 2 years. The starting salary was $3,000 more than the typical wage for a novice teacher. Given my failure to secure employment in my field, I opted to submit an application. I sent my resume to the school board the following morning, and by mid-afternoon, I had an interview arranged for the next day. I chose not to inform Cindy as I didn't want to stir her expectations. The interview concluded with a job offer from Riviera High School, a school known for its poor performance in the county, situated in Riviera Beach. Although struggling for years, I accepted the opportunity to teach math and science there after being quickly expedited through the hiring process due to my Career Talks video being discovered. The area had been facing difficulties, and Riviera High School was no exception, with only 6% of students deemed college-ready upon graduation. Upon sharing this news with Cindy, her reaction was far from what I expected. She expressed concern about the safety issues associated with the job. She shared disturbing incidents at the school, such as metal detectors at each entrance and guards patrolling corridors. Last year, 3 teachers were assaulted, one even stabbed. Cindy also cautioned me about my lack of teaching background, doubting I'd endure a week. After conversing with several individuals and hearing more distressing tales, I was extremely apprehensive on my first day. The school's appearance didn't alleviate my fears. The structure was dilapidated and neglected. Graffiti adorned the school front and walls within. Students roamed the hallways as if they were their personal property, and guards were stationed everywhere, including near bathrooms. Despite having numerous lesson ideas, I decided to postpone implementation and assess the surroundings first. Instead of immersing myself in my lesson plan, I opted for math and science games. The games were entertaining and uncomplicated, yet undetected by the students. They were acquiring essential material for their year-end tests. The newly appointed school principal, Ben Carlson, was uncompromising. His stature as a tall, 240-pound African-American man who had no tolerance for trouble made him an excellent fit for the position. Students soon learned not to challenge him. He was firmly committed to stern discipline, a stance I approved of. I admired his method of removing all gang members from regular classes and transferring them to a special class with rotating teachers and 3 security guards. Any gang members who caused trouble were given one warning and then dismissed. By the 3rd week, the most problematic gang members either left or were expelled. It might seem harsh, but some students are beyond salvation. My wife underestimated my resolve to remain in the job. Not only did I survive the first week, but by December, I had flourished. I overhauled my teaching strategies with fresh games, which were met with great enthusiasm by students, leading other educators to adopt some of my methods. These innovations appeared to be effective as Riviera High School climbed from 58th to 51st place academically by year end, earning me a nomination for Teacher of the Year. Although I didn't secure the title, being nominated was an accolade. However, Cindy remained unimpressed with my work, constantly pushing for my return to engineering. I eventually explained that I had found joy in teaching and would not go back. She wasn't delighted, but ultimately accepted it. Over the Christmas break, I decided to pursue my long-awaited PhD. Delayed by the economic recession, I was now focusing on computer engineering instead of mechanical engineering due to my fascination with computers. A year ago, during my conversation with April, I learned that she was pursuing her PhD in comparative studies at Florida Atlantic University FAO. Subsequently, I opted to join FAO for my computer engineering doctorate. During the subsequent year, I continued working at Riviera Beach High School, where our rankings rose from 51st to 46th position. Simultaneously, the school board advanced Cindy to the vice principal role at West Jupiter High School. However, events took an unexpected turn that summer. As our lives progressed, I received favorable news about Brock's promotion to deputy superintendent and Cindy's nomination as the new principal of West Jupiter High School. Despite my lingering mistrust in Brock, his new position at the district headquarters provided some relief, as he would no longer be present daily. Although Cindy was not constantly seeing him, she still needed to visit the headquarters once a week. At first, I felt dismayed by this, but I later discovered that it was common practice for newly appointed principals. I persisted with my classes at FAO, located approximately 40 minutes away. Seeing that April was pursuing her PhD there too, I proposed we carpool. April welcomed the idea, yet when she mentioned it to Brock, he erupted in anger, threatening me. I assumed he wouldn't be fond of the idea, but not to this extent. I felt disheartened because our conversations during the drive would have added enjoyment. Regardless, April and I regularly met for coffee during our class breaks. Sometimes others accompanied us, but often it was just the two of us. In the beginning, we spoke casually, but later discussed a multitude of subjects. Despite Brock's jealousy, April and I developed a strong friendship. She even encouraged me to apply for a position at the new four-year college. I acknowledged her advice, but disclosed that I was being considered for the head guidance role in a new high school. Over our coffee conversations, I uncovered facts about April and Brock. I found out that April had earned her degree with high honors from Stanford before returning to live with her parents in Philadelphia. She encountered Brock at a charity function, initially disliking him, but Brock's persistence led to them dating. It didn't take long for April to fall deeply in love with him. The way Brock guarded April against other men showed his complete devotion. Approximately a year into their marriage, they had Tiffany. April did share that Brock rarely interacted with their daughter and lacked patience with her. He had desired a son. Upon hearing this, I chuckled. "You've got to be kidding," I exclaimed. "Tiffany is such an adorable little girl. If Cindy and I have a daughter, I hope she's as wonderful as Tiffany." "Thank you," April replied, giving me a cheek kiss. One night during class, our instructor fell ill and had to leave. 20 minutes earlier, I could have departed, but I decided to linger and share coffee with April instead. Already in the cafeteria, April arrived with some of her peers. I gestured to the cup of coffee I had purchased for her, prompting her approach where I sat while her friends obtained their own beverages. "There was no need for that, Todd," she said, grinning. I returned the smile, implying it wasn't a hassle. I had been there for approximately 15 minutes. Upon returning for another cup, I recognized your class would soon be on recess, so it was inconsequential in essence. "Did your class conclude prematurely?" April queried as she sipped her coffee. "Indeed, the instructor fell ill." A brief pause followed before she whispered, "I'm envious of you, Todd. I should be more advanced academically, but Brock hasn't made it easy. Now he's pressuring me for another child, hoping for a boy. But if I do that, it'll set back my PhD by years and jeopardize my aspiration to become an associate professor." I told him I wouldn't entertain the idea of another child until I complete my PhD, and he didn't seem pleased. April pulled out her phone from her handbag, softly asking, "Is everything okay?" I inquired. "I need to inform Brock that I'll be staying late for a meeting with my advisor, but my phone is out of juice." "May I use yours instead?" I consented, wondering if it was wise. April pondered and eventually concurred. "You're right, there's no point in complicating things further." "May I borrow your phone for a moment, April?" She dialed Brock's number immediately, and I overheard her say, "Oh dear, again. Another problem?" I asked. "Indeed," she replied with exasperation. I told her I had warned him about his full voicemail 2 days ago, yet he hadn't cleared it. "Could you do me a favor, Todd?" "Of course, what do you need?" April searched through her bag, found a note in an envelope, and wrote something quickly on it. She sealed the note inside the envelope. "Can you drop this off at your house on your way home? Won't Brock be upset about it?" Informed him I'd attempted contact, yet his voicemail remains full. "Encountered you moments before departure, thus asked to deliver this note. Preoccupied with tardiness, didn't wish for him to arrive here. Though hesitant about delivering message, obliged. Considered he wouldn't be too frustrated given the nature of the communication from his spouse." Nevertheless, an old adage regarding the messenger causing harm lingered in my thoughts, prompting self-amusement as I navigated Turner Street. Unease transformed into bewilderment upon seeing my wife's VW parked at Brock's residence. Unable to fathom Cindy visiting Brock's abode during this hour, I parked on the street, pondering a rationale or explanation. However, nothing became apparent. Feeling uncomfortable, opted to inspect the premises. Lights were switched on downstairs and most blinds were raised. Quietly circumvented house sideways. As it was my first time at Brock's residence, I wasn't sure what to anticipate. Upon peeking through the initial window, I found myself in the living room. Subsequent glimpses revealed the kitchen and dining area. Upon circling to the rear of the house, I observed that the blinds in the fourth room were primarily drawn shut. Nevertheless, two blinds were slightly raised and one window was ajar. What followed left me astounded. Brock was seated in a straight-back chair, completely nude, in the process of donning a condom. He appeared to be approximately 8 inches long and relatively substantial. At that moment, Cindy entered the scene. I swiftly extracted my phone and began recording. Cindy chuckled, "I can't believe how massive it is. The first time I saw it, I didn't think it would fit, but now all I can think about is having you inside me." Brock growled, "Approach and let me insert it into you." Cindy moaned and said, "If only you wouldn't use a condom. I desire you to impregnate me so we can have a child together." This revelation made me queasy, but what followed was far worse. Brock suggested, "Let's go upstairs. We have time for one more round before April returns." He spoke contemptuously of her. "That woman always questions when we can be together." Cindy questioned, "Every day?" To which he replied, "Soon, but I need to sort out my finances first. I don't want April to take everything." Laughing, Cindy ascended upstairs, with Brock in tow. I found myself stumbling back to my car, sobbing uncontrollably in the nearest parking lot. The betrayal left me reeling. We had been planning a family, and now it seemed Cindy was trying to get pregnant by another man. As shock turned to anger, the intensity of my feelings surpassed anything I'd ever experienced before. My marriage was clearly over, and all I could think about was inflicting pain on both of them. I had the video, but I wondered if it would cause significant hurt if they truly loved each other. I was uncertain about how to seek revenge, but my thoughts of retaliation were quickly replaced by concerns for April. Brock had hinted at leaving his wife with minimal assets, prompting me to warn her. I rushed back to Fao as swiftly as I could, consumed by rage and tears. Despite my speedy arrival, I was concerned she might have left already. Relieved to see her car among the numerous parked vehicles, I spotted April after about 10 minutes. We met outside, and her immediate concern was evident. "Is everything all right?" she asked, clearly troubled. "Is something wrong with Brock or Tiffany?" I assured her they were both physically well, but I had serious news to share. "Your husband and my wife are having an affair." "That's not a joke, Todd," April retorted sharply. I know you don't care for my husband, but I won't tolerate you spreading false rumors about him." April dropped her bag and purse, shaking visibly. I picked up her belongings and stated, "We need a discussion. It will be difficult to accept, but it's crucial that you understand this is the truth, and I'm not deceiving you." I guided her to the passenger seat of my car, initiated the video, and passed her my phone. April broke down in tears before the video finished. I retrieved the phone, knelt down so we were at eye level, and said, "I understand this is coming as a shock to you, and you haven't had time to comprehend it, but I have made up my mind to separate from Cindy. From what Brock mentioned in the video, he seems intent on concealing his assets before divorcing you." "I didn't catch that," April replied, looking perplexed. So I replayed the video. After seeing it a second time, April was no longer stunned. Instead, she was furious. Prior to and during our marriage, I had heard whispers about Brock, but I refused to believe them. If he believes he can elope with your wife while leaving me high and dry, he's in for a shock. April acknowledged her mistake and apologized. "I'm sorry for addressing your wife that way. Don't be concerned, you were merely stating the facts." I confirmed that April was fine to drive home and sent her the video of Cindy and Brock. Upon returning home, Cindy was either asleep or pretending. It didn't matter to me. I went straight to our office, turned on the computer, and began planning the dissolution of my marriage. The following morning, around 8:30 a.m., after Cindy had left, I took a shower, prepared myself, found a divorce attorney online, and scheduled an appointment for the next day. Cindy and I had limited assets. Our house held minimal equity, so it would either be sold or Cindy could compensate me. We shared joint checking, savings, and investment accounts with approximately $75,000 in total. Initially, Cindy and I had similar balances in our respective retirement accounts, one with the Florida Retirement System FRS and the other as a 401k. I assumed dividing assets would be straightforward, but needed legal consultation to clarify my situation. Since Florida is a no-fault divorce state, a video might sway Cindy towards agreeing to the divorce if she was resistant. By 10 a.m., I had taken care of as many things as possible, prompting me to search for a small apartment in Lake Park and secure it. Upon returning home, I started packing my belongings and, finding that my new living space was inadequate, rented a self-storage unit nearby. Neither Cindy nor I discussed any missing items. While preparing for potential job offers, I stayed in the den and slept on the couch. Cindy left before I awoke. The following day, I consulted with my divorce attorney, Alicia Smithson. She was a practical, mature woman. Upon displaying her the video and detailing Cindy's actions, she informed me that the video wouldn't be beneficial for our divorce proceedings. Moreover, she advised me against disseminating it online, citing potential legal repercussions. That evening, I anticipated Cindy's return to confront her. She arrived around 9 p.m., passing me in the living room without acknowledgement. "Cindy, we need to discuss something," I called out. "I'm exhausted and require a shower," she responded, proceeding up the stairs. "I don't mind if you have Brock's trace on you," I replied, challenging her. "We must talk now." Cindy halted at the foot of the stairs, turned around, and inquired, "What are we discussing?" "Come here and I'll clarify," I said, standing up. With apprehension, Cindy entered the living room. "I believe you owe me an apology for your harsh words just now," she stated. "I don't agree," I responded, opening my laptop to play the video instead. The screen swiftly displayed Cindy climbing onto Brock. For a brief instant, Cindy glanced at the video before shutting her laptop. "Since you've discovered it now, I no longer have to conceal it," Cindy stated without regret. I chuckled. "Cindy, recall when you suggested that one should learn something new each day?" "Yes." "Well, so what?" she retorted sharply. "Apparently, you didn't heed my warning about Brock being a womanizer. Now, it appears he's made you his mistress." "There's no need for rudeness," Cindy said angrily. "I understand this might hurt your ego, but a superior man has claimed me from you. I had hoped we could part ways peacefully." I laughed heartily. "Given that you refuse to acknowledge the truth, you are now left on your own. I've already secured an apartment and moved some belongings there. I'll return later for the remainder. You can remain here until the divorce is settled. Once that's done, the house will either be sold or I'll offer you a buyout. On Friday, you'll receive work documents. After shifting into my compact new dwelling, the affection for Cindy left me in severe distress. For the initial days, I barely managed to rise from bed for even essential tasks like using the restroom or eating. Fortunately, it was summer, so I had no external commitments. I spent every moment ruminating on retribution against them, but could find nothing viable. On the third day, I compelled myself to rise, clean up, and go food shopping. Upon my return, I switched on the petite TV in my kitchenette. The station broadcasted a celebrity gossip program, which instantly captivated me. It appeared that ex-NFL linebacker Brock Turner and his spouse are parting ways after 3 years. Reports suggesting Turner's womanizing tendencies seem to be substantiated, as April, his wife, has filed for divorce, alleging infidelity. Our journalist had spoken with Mr. Turner earlier today. "Mr. Turner, is it true that your wife discovered you with another woman?" "Indeed," Brock replied with a sorrowful smile. "My spouse and I are facing difficulties due to a significant disagreement. We're making efforts to reconcile our marriage, so we ask for some space during this time. However, my conversation with April since I disclosed her husband's affair with mine has been non-existent. The injustice of Brock causing the collapse of my marriage, only to potentially mend his own, left me feeling angry and sad once more. But when my phone rang, fear joined these emotions. Without even identifying myself, the caller began speaking, threatening me. "Hey, creep, I know it was you who took those incriminating pictures with your unfaithful wife. Consider yourself warned, as tonight's 6 News will have you in hot water." I was taken aback by Brock's call, but in the brief moment of contemplation, I understood it wouldn't be challenging for him to deduce I was the one who captured the video. Despite feeling frightened, I masked it. "You're fortunate, since Cindy will soon be my former wife," I remarked, trying to feign self-assurance. "And if you reside there, I reckon that issue between us hasn't been resolved." He retorted, "Just tune into the 6 News, fool. You'll lose your bravado afterwards." Then he ended the call. I was anxious about Brock's intentions towards me and switched on the local news at 6. It wasn't until around 10 minutes into the broadcast that I learned what Brock's threat concerned. The news anchor announced, Palm Beach County Superintendent of Schools, Kish Crawford, submitted his resignation today to accept a position with the Department of Education in Washington. Brock Turner, the deputy superintendent, has been appointed interim superintendent. However, it's widely speculated that he'll be offered the job permanently. A chill ran down my spine as I finally grasped what Brock meant when he said my life was at stake. As his superior and me being a teacher, he held authority over me. Brock could make my work life difficult or falsely accuse me of wrongdoing to shield his own misdeeds. I sought an escape from his grasp. Initially, I contemplated resignation and returning to engineering, but the economy was then on the mend, requiring a stable income for personal support and legal costs related to my divorce. Cindy's lawyer put forward exorbitant demands, insisting that I pay $50,000 to purchase her share of the house, despite the home's equity barely reaching $20,000. This was ludicrous. She also demanded I drop the adultery claim, accused me of financial concealment, and requested a forensic accountant to scrutinize our finances. Though her demands were unfounded, I still had to compensate my lawyer for representation. Anxious, I recalled April mentioning that the college where she worked was seeking adjunct instructors. Rapidly contacted their HR department for inquiries, only to be advised to submit an application online. Upon examination of my qualifications, I was offered a position to instruct algebra, pre-calculus, and calculus. A 1-year contract providing approximately 80% of my previous high school teacher's salary was provided. Teaching at the college level proved more gratifying than in high school, where I continuously sought innovative means to maintain student interest. At college, however, most students appeared eager to learn, and making the subject material captivating sparked their enthusiasm. 2 weeks into my employment, I bumped into April in the cafeteria. Her happiness upon seeing me mirrored mine. We enjoyed lunch together and shared updates on our lives. April revealed that Brock was prolonging the divorce proceedings. Brock had sought full custody of Tiffany, but a video showing him with your spouse while he was meant to be looking after his daughter swayed the judge against granting sole custody. Regardless, as per April's account, the divorce proceedings were prolonged indefinitely. I clarified that my own divorce took longer than anticipated, yet it appeared to be nearing a conclusion. I can't fathom how I was deceived by Brock, April lamented, pushing aside her half-eaten sandwich. I'd heard the gossip, but Brock has a knack for making everything he says sound so persuasive. Indeed, he must be an eloquent speaker, since he managed to persuade my wife to stray. I sighed regretfully. Cindy was always one who believed people should learn something fresh every day. That's a lesson I could have done without learning. I'm deeply sorry for what happened to you, Todd, April sympathized, grasping my hand. You're one of the kindest individuals I've ever met. Following our first lunch, April and I began having lunches together almost every day and frequently met for afternoon coffee in the afternoons. These occasions led to dinners and excursions. I had started developing feelings for April, but I was wary of jeopardizing our friendship. Nevertheless, I desired more, so when the circus arrived in town, I made up my mind to invite her. The circus will be here over the weekend, I brought up one day at lunch. I initially intended to take Tiffany, but she can be challenging sometimes, April expressed with a sigh. She's still upset about her father not wanting to see her. He told me that if I went through with the divorce, he'd provide child support, but wouldn't be involved with Tiffany. I can't help but say this, but Brock is utterly unacceptable, I said, revealing a hint of anger before smiling. However, if you wish to attend the circus, I believe we can handle a 4-year-old between us. The day at the circus was wonderful. There was also a small fair ongoing. By the end of the day, April was gripping one of my hands and Tiffany was clinging onto the other. Additionally, I held a recently acquired stuffed unicorn. Upon arriving at their residence, I guided them to the door and attempted to kiss April gently on the cheek, but she drew me in for a lips kiss instead. I returned the affection by embracing her. As we separated, Tiffany tugged on my pants, saying, "I want a kiss too." I lifted her up and reciprocated with a double cheek kiss. "Thank you for allowing me to accompany you and your mommy, and thank you for behaving so well today," I told her, which prompted a wide smile from Tiffany. Just as I was about to place her down again, April inquired, "Would you care to join us for dinner? It's nothing elaborate, I was just planning on making Tiffany's favorite pizza." "I adore pizza," I responded, readjusting Tiffany on my hip, "and I'd be delighted to dine with you two charming ladies." Tiffany managed fairly well in keeping the tomato sauce mainly on her face and hands, causing me to chuckle each time she slurped another noodle. While cleaning Tiffany's face, I was simultaneously tidying her hands. At some point, Tiffany grabbed my hand and compared our skin tones, asking, "Why is your skin lighter than mine?" I cast a glance at April, who seemed amused, before responding, "It's because it adds beauty to you and your mother that surpasses mine." "You're goofy," Tiffany laughed. "Boys aren't pretty, they're handsome." "Do you think I'm handsome?" "Yes, and even mommy agrees," was my reply. "All right, young lady, that's enough," April swiftly interjected. "It's time for your bath and bedtime story." After her bath, Tiffany requested a story from me, which I willingly granted. Consequently, I read 2 stories to her, varying my voice for each character. Tiffany found delight in it, but remained restless until I gave her a good-night kiss. Once Tiffany was asleep, April and I settled on the couch, enjoying wine while conversing about teaching. Suddenly, April put down her glass, took mine from me, and placed it aside. Then she leaned in and passionately kissed me. Astounded, I found myself receiving a kiss from one of the most breathtaking women I'd ever laid eyes on. "We should transfer this to your bedroom," she murmured softly. April requested, "Please proceed with care." Given Brock's considerable size, it was occasionally painful, so I took care to move gently within her. "Oh my goodness, that feels incredible," April exclaimed, loud and clear. You fit perfectly. After that fateful night, April and I drew closer, but opted against cohabiting until our divorces were officially over. My divorce concluded first, at which point I felt a sense of relief as the final court date approached. On that day, I was in the courtroom when Cindy arrived with Brock. Cindy flashed me a smug smile and clung tightly to Brock's arm. She continued to mock me throughout, particularly when he kissed her before taking a seat. I had urged April to keep her distance because I suspected Brock would be present. The divorce proceedings proceeded without incident. The judge inquired if both attorneys were content, and upon affirmation, he struck the gavel, concluding the proceedings. April's divorce took an additional 3 months to finalize. During this period, both April and I completed our PhDs. Shortly afterwards, April obtained a position as an associate professor. Despite not securing a professorship myself, I received a 2-year teaching contract, a rarity at the college since they typically offered 1-year contracts. This was due to the immense popularity of my classes, each now boasting a waitlist. I further agreed to teach an additional pre-calculus class because of the high demand for enrollment. As a result, my income increased by approximately 25% compared to when I was a high school teacher, and I was promised an associate professorship in the near future. Despite things progressing better than anticipated, we faced difficulties when I had to attend a 3-day seminar in Atlanta. The days were filled with lengthy sessions, interrupted seldom by short breaks each hour, along with late-night study groups. By the time night fell, I was drained and barely managed to crawl into bed, only to rise again the next day. I had informed April of my schedule, so she comprehended it well. Yet, Tiffany remained clueless about my whereabouts or why I didn't call. On my return, Tiffany leapt at me as soon as I entered. She was weeping because she felt abandoned by me. I attempted to clarify my whereabouts, but she wouldn't settle down until I handed her the pink plush dragon. One of her beloved books is Rainbow Dragons, and Pinky, her favorite dragon from that tale, was the one with a pink hue. The moment I presented her with the dragon, she erupted in delight and bombarded me with kisses. After Tiffany had composed herself, we sat for dinner. As kids often do, Tiffany said something amusing. Looking at me, she asked, "Why don't you reside here?" "I'd be delighted to be your dad," I responded, glancing at April, who was smiling. "But it seems your mom might have some thoughts on that matter." However, April mentioned that her mom would rejoice if I became Tiffany's dad, but there's a condition: we'd need to be married first. Surprised, I asked, "Would I marry you?" To which April replied with a giggle, "You didn't ask soon enough. We had a small wedding attended by only a few friends. My dad and your mom were there. Your mother passed away when you were 9, and April's dad died when she was 15. I couldn't have been happier. Even though Cindy left me for a former NFL player, it felt like I'd found the best. Cindy may have been with someone famous, but now I'm married to the most beautiful woman I know, and she comes with a wonderful little daughter whom I love as if she were my own." Despite Brock continually pursuing April, trying to win her back, it was all in the past. He oscillated between pleading and veiled threats, yet avoided any actions that could land him in legal issues. Coexisting with Cindy, it seemed, brought her contentment. I couldn't help but feel pity for her, knowing Brock's eventual revelation of his true nature. Betrayal by Cindy left me shattered and enraged. My relentless pursuit of revenge against both of them engulfed my consciousness. Yet, as a relationship with April blossomed, my anger subsided, and the thirst for vengeance waned. Nevertheless, it seemed fate had a design for me to exact my revenge indirectly. In our quest to sell her house and purchase a new one near the university, we decided on a self-sale approach and found a buyer swiftly. Since Brock's name was still on the deed, he was required to sign the sale contract. April contacted him, initially greeted with his enthusiasm. Initially, Brock expressed delight, but swiftly turned sour upon learning April's intent to sell their house for proximity to college. He flat out refused to sign. Typical obstinate self, he was. Aware of his reaction, April reminded him that their divorce settlement stipulated he would have to buy her out if he declined the sale. This enraged Brock, and he terminated the call. The next day, however, he called back and agreed to sign the contract. During the closing, April asked Brock if he wanted anything from the house. He stated he wanted nothing, and it was her responsibility to clear everything out. Clearing the house was a daunting task. We left the basement until last, and there I found something of worth. April unearthed a box filled with assorted items. At the base of the box was an antique laptop that once belonged to Brock. April revealed he had acquired a new laptop roughly a year and a half following his appointment as principal at West Jupiter High School. Therefore, she assumed he had discarded the old one. She inquired if I could repair the laptop for Tiffany. I said I would attempt it, provided it still functioned. Upon recharging the battery that evening, I found the laptop to not only work, but also contain saved files. Initially, I had intended to simply format the laptop, but instead decided to examine the files first in case there were pictures of Tiffany or April they wished to preserve. What I uncovered was more than just typical errors. It exposed that Brock was not merely an ordinary fool, but a high-level one. The files predominantly contained images and videos of April and Tiffany, but they also revealed numerous photographs and videos of unclothed women with whom Brock had intimate relationships. Each video or image had a caption detailing the length of each affair and Brock's evaluation of each woman. Although I recognized only a few of the women, I did identify 5 of them, including a well-known Dallas quarterback's wife and a famous model. After their meeting, the pair divorced and Brock was traded not long after. This revelation explained why. Among the faculty at West Jupiter High School were 4 women, 2 of whom were married. One of these married teachers was Cindy. It appeared that Brock had been involved with all of them at roughly the same time. The laptop contained several images and 2 disturbing videos of my former spouse. I couldn't help but be stunned by her transformation from loving partner to a promiscuous individual. However, Brock's comments about Cindy made me chuckle. He extolled her abilities, but complained she was too clingy because she repeatedly urged him to impregnate her. He even contemplated fathering a child with her as a means of aggravating her husband. Before deleting the files, I saw an opportunity for retaliation. I copied all the explicit material onto a flash drive and continued sifting through the laptop. What followed next painted Brock as a monumental fool. Brock had kept his financial records on the computer. I was stunned. His detailed financial statements, including account numbers and passwords, were all there. He had misrepresented his wealth during the divorce. Hidden accounts in the Cayman Islands and California, which he hadn't revealed in court, were uncovered. Upon examining other folders, I summoned April. First, I presented her with photos of women Brock was involved with, then his financial records. It was unclear what upset her more, the infidelity or the undisclosed wealth. However, it likely was the infidelity. I found out that Brock had slept with his maid of honor, all the bridesmaids, and even his cousin. Things progressed swiftly after that. April took Brock back to court for concealing marital assets, although he could have faced jail time. In the end, the judge awarded April 65% of the undisclosed assets. A significant chunk of the additional funds was allocated towards Tiffany's college fund, while another part served as a down payment for a house located merely 2 blocks from the college. Having resided in a compact apartment following my divorce with minimal costs, I managed to correspond April's down payment amount using my savings and post-divorce earnings. The list of Brock's top 10 indiscretions remained uncertain in my possession. However, I carried the flash drive along as I pondered over it. If not for the incident at a college fair held at the West Palm Beach Convention Center, this situation might have persisted. As an invited speaker, and with April taking time off work to accompany me, we attended the event, which featured approximately 40 institutions showcasing their booths. The fair was also enlightening for high school graduates who sought guidance from university representatives. Additionally, seminars on building a compelling college application, choosing a major, and thriving in college were conducted. As I sat next to the college representative, Brock Turner, a man I deeply disliked, approached. "Hey, Cindy," he sneered. "Guess who? Your ex-husband." I responded with feigned amusement. "I find it funny, Brock, because your ex-wife would say the same about you." His face flushed as he shot back. "You're a real jerk, Todd. I'm tempted to teach you a lesson in respecting your superiors." Cindy tried to keep him calm, holding his arm tightly and whispering, "Don't pay attention to him, Brock. He's not worth your time. Don't sink to his level." Ignoring her advice, Brock leaned in to kiss Cindy passionately. She responded, softening in his embrace. As they walked away, I called out, presenting him with a set of pictures of Cindy I had found on the computer, saying, "Cindy, these photos might interest you." Every day, you suggested learning something new. She silently accepted the flash drive with a murmured, "Thank you." It was at that moment April approached me, embracing me before giving me a quick peck on the cheek. "I apologize for my extended absence," she said gently. Brock appeared startled, his face turning crimson when he spotted April's pregnant belly. "Oh, hello, Brock," she greeted him sweetly. "It seems you were deep in conversation with my spouse." Brock moved towards me, but halted upon seeing a guard nearby. He left with Cindy, occasionally glancing back with an expression of disquiet. Later that night, April and I were in bed, and I was applying lotion to her belly. We paid little attention to the news until the newscaster announced a domestic incident at Brock Turner's residence involving allegations yet unspecified. Turner appears to have sustained a non-fatal stab wound. Currently, he is admitted at the hospital, while Cindy Albee has been detained in the county jail. Glancing over at April with a smirk, I quipped, "It seems Cindy picked up a new skill today.